everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make this cute little witch's hat that makes a nice decoration. They also fit your American Girl style dolls, as well as sitting up and makes a nice place setting. You can fill it with candy. You can also set it on top of your coffee cup as well for decoration. They're super fun to make and super easy. Now it measures about 5.5 inches tall, so it's a nice size for decorating for the holidays. Now this pattern is free on my blog, and you can find that link down in the notes underneath this video. To make our little witch hat, you're going to need some yarn. Today I'm going to be working with Red Heart Super Saver acrylic yarn medium number 4, or as some call it worsted weight, medium weight number 4. You can use any colors, and you can use any medium number 4 yarn that you have on hand. You can use cotton, acrylic, or any of your blends, or even a wool, as long as it's a medium number 4. We're going to be stitching today with our H hook. It's a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle to weave in those ends, and of course you'll need your scissors. This is a great project to use up some of your leftover scraps of yarn. We'll be starting at the top of the hat, and the top portion of the hat is worked in rounds, and so we won't be joining, and so you'll need one stitch marker. Or you can use another piece of yarn in a different color just to mark your rows. We're going to begin with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 3. We're going to place 4 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're not going to join, we're going to begin stitching in that first single crochet. So what we're going to do is mark our last stitch on our first row with our stitch marker. So we have 4 single crochets, and I've marked my last single crochet with a stitch marker. We're going to begin working right in the first single crochet of row 1. We're going to place 1 single crochet in the first single crochet, then we'll stitch 2 in the next, 1, 2, we'll stitch 1 single crochet in the next, and then we're going to remove that stitch marker. We're going to stitch 2 single crochets in that stitch, 1 and 2. So now for row 2 we have 6 single crochets, and I'm going to put my stitch marker back in to mark my stitch. For row 3 we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the next stitch. We'll stitch 2 single crochets in the next, and this is sort of tight because we're forming the top of our witch's hat. We're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the next 2. 1, 2, and then we'll stitch 2 single crochets in the next, 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in this last stitch. And now at this point I'm going to take this and push it out, and now you can see that we're forming the top of our witch's hat, and we'll put our stitch marker back in to mark our row. Some people place them in the first stitch of the new row. I like to place them in the last stitch of the previous row. That way I know where I started and stopped. It's just a preference, and you can do it however you feel most comfortable. On row 3, you should have 8 single crochets. Now, we're going to place 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to place 2 single crochets in the next stitch. 1 and 2. And then we're going to repeat what we just did. 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, here's 2 and 3. I'm going to take my stitch marker out and place those 2 single crochets in that last stitch. And so for row 4, we should now have 10 single crochets. Going to put my stitch marker back in. That little nub on the end there makes it a little bit difficult. There we go. All right, we're ready for row 5. We're going to place 1 single crochet in the next 2. 1, 2. Then we'll place 2 single crochets in the next. 1, 2. We'll place 1 single crochet in the next 2. 1, 2. And then 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. We're going to place 1 single crochet in the next 2. 1, 2. Then we'll place 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And that leaves 1 stitch left, and we're going to place 1 single crochet in that last stitch. So now we have 13 single crochets, and we'll go ahead and mark our last stitch. So for row 5, we have 13 single crochets, and you can already see how the point of our witch's hat is working. All right, now we're ready for row 6. We're going to place 1 single crochet in the next 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to place 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And then we'll repeat that. 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And repeat. 1 single crochet in the next 3. Two single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. We'll pull out that stitch marker and place 1 single crochet in the last stitch. Oh, don't forget to put your stitch marker back in. For row 6, we have 16 single crochets. For row 7, we're going to place 1 single crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And then we're going to repeat that. 1 single crochet in the next 3. Whoops. And 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And repeat. 1 single crochet in the next 3. And 2 in the next. 1 and 2. 1 single crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. And this brings us to our last stitch, and we'll stitch 2 single crochets in that last stitch. And so for row 7, we have 20 single crochets. And again, don't forget to put that stitch marker back in. All right, for row 4, we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So there's 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll stitch 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 1 and 2. And then we'll repeat that. 1 single crochet in the next 4. And 2 single crochets in the next. And repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 in the next, 1 and 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our last stitch. We'll pull our stitch marker out and stitch 2 single crochets in that stitch. And then that brings us to row 9. Now let me put my stitch marker back in. There we go. And then for row 9, we're going to stitch in the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll stitch 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. Then we'll stitch 1 single crochet in the next 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 2 in the next, 1 and 2. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 in the next, 1 and 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, brings us to our last stitch, and we'll place 2 stitches in our last stitch. All right, so now let's make sure we mark that last stitch with our stitch marker. And this was our last row of increase. So we're not going to have any more increases. And for row 9, you should have 28 single crochets. And so for row 10, we're just going to place 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets around. And so row 10 will also have 28 single crochets. 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets around. I completed that row stitching 1 single crochet in each single crochet around. And now I'm going to repeat that for 3 more rows. 1 single crochet in each single crochet around. Make sure you move your stitch marker so you can keep track of your rows. And we're going to repeat row 10 3 more times. I've completed those 3 rows of 1 single crochet in each single crochet around. And you can really see the shape of the witch's hat now. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave our main color, whatever you're using for the hat, attached, and we're going to bring in our second color. I'm using green, and then I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to remove my stitch marker, because at this point we're going to be joining our rows instead of stitching in the round. And what we're going to do is we're going to place 1 half double crochet in each of the single crochets. Yarn over, go in the first single crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 of those loops. 1 half double crochet in each of the single crochets around. We'll do this all the way around, and then I'll show you how to join when we get back around. I've stitched that row of half double crochets all the way around. And what we're going to do when we get back over here, we're not going to join that chain 2. We're going to join to the first half double crochet and pull that in nice and snug. Now we're going to join in our next color. Now you can go back to using your purple if you want to, or whatever color you're using for your hat, but I like to add that second color just for fun. Now I'm going to leave my green attached because I'm going to make another row of green after my orange. Alright, so there's my 2 colors that are still attached. I've joined my orange. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to stitch 1 half double crochet in each of the half double crochets around, just like we did on the previous row with the green. We'll stitch 1 half double crochet in each half double crochet around, and then we'll join back to the first half double crochet. So basically our chain 2s on these rows of half double crochet does not count as a stitch. I finished my row of half double crochets in orange. I cut my yarn, and I'm going to go ahead and bring back in my green because I want a second row of green. And so I'm going to do that chain 2, and then I'll begin stitching half double crochets in each of the half double crochets. One half double crochet in each of the half double crochets around, and again I'll join back to my first half double crochet. I completed that second row of the green half double crochet, so now I have 3 stripes on my witch's hat. I cut my green yarn, I joined in my purple, and I'm going to chain 3 because we're going to make the bill or the bottom of our witch's hat. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to place 1 double crochet in the first stitch and 2 in the second. Our chain 3 counts as our first, so yarn over, go in the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. And we'll place a second double crochet in that same stitch. So what we're going to be doing is stitching 1 double crochet in the next and 2 double crochets in the next, and this is going to cause the bill of our hat to flare out. 1 double crochet in the next and 2 in the next, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. all the way around the bottom of our hat. So 1 and 2, and you can see that it's starting to flare out. We'll do this all the way around and join back to our chain 3. I completed row 17, stitching 1 and 2, 1 and 2 all the way around, and now this is our last row, and we're going to stitch 2 and 2. 1 double crochet in the next 2 and 2 in the next. Our chain 3 counts as our first, so we'll place 1 double crochet in the next and then 2 double crochets in the next. 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches and 2 double crochets in the next. And we will repeat this, working all the way around the bottom of our hat, and then we can tie off because we will be done. Two double crochets, 1 in each of the next 2, and then 2 double crochets in the next, and repeat, working all the way around, and we'll join back to our chain 3. I've completed that last row of double crochets, stitching 2 and 2. I'm going to tie off. And then, of course, I have a few ends to weave in. And I'll go ahead and tidy up my hat, and then I'm going to show you how to make that little flower that you can add to your hat if you want to. Now I'm going to show you how to make a real simple little flower that you can add to the band of your hat if you want to. You can add a button or a buckle or any embellishment that you would like. It's totally up to you and what you're going to use your hat for. So we're going to start with our slip knot. We're going to chain 2. And then we're going to place 10 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. So we'll go in and stitch 10 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now don't worry about the hole. I'll show you how to close that up when we're finished. We're going to join to our first single crochet with a slip stitch, and we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to skip the next stitch and slip stitch in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chain 4, skip the next, and slip stitch in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, skip the next, and slip stitch in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip the next, and slip stitch in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll slip stitch in the next. So now we have 5 petals, and that would look really cute just like that. But if you want it to be doubled, you can go behind and slip stitch in the slip stitch in the center of that flower and chain 4. And then we'll go behind and slip stitch in the single crochet behind the flower loop or petal. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll do that again. Slip stitch and chain 4. And by doing this, we're giving it a second row of petals. All right, that brings us back. So we'll slip stitch right in that single crochet. We're going to cut our yarn, but give ourselves a little bit so we can sew it on. And go ahead and tie that off. All right, now we're going to take our needle, and the first thing we're going to do is close this hole. So I'm going to stitch on the back side. And go around. There we go. And just close that up nice and snug. And we're going to weave this in, making sure that that is not going to come undone. All right, so now we have a little flower that's 3D that we can add to our hat. Now, you could do this in different colors. You could do the center purple and your 2 layers of petals, green and orange, or however you want to do it. I just did it all one color. And what I do is I'll go down underneath. I'm placing it right on the band, and I'm only going to stitch around these edges here, like this. Because I want my petals on my flower to look 3D. I don't want them to lay flat. Now, if you want yours to lay flat, you can certainly stitch around those petals. And by doing this also, the way that I did that, it brings the center up just a little bit and makes it pucker up. All right, so let's go ahead and weave that in a little bit. So that's going to stay put. And tie that off. Looks like I got a little bit of weaving in to do there too. So here is our little witch's hat. It works great for dolls like American Girl dolls or 18-inch dolls. It makes a nice display because it will sit up. And something really fun to do with these is if you're going to have a Halloween party and serve hot cider or cocoa or something, these look really cute sitting on top of coffee cups to keep stuff out of your coffee.